Today's video we'll be looking at the RCA SGT 250 CED player.
We got 20-minute videos on old technology, computers, laser discs, and some CEDs. We got two little dogs licking their balls on the screen, and now it's time for the show.
Okay, so I have done a video before on CED players in general, and we did look at a CED player other than this one, a little bit lower end player. And if you want to watch that video, which I suggest you do if you have no idea what a CED player is, watch that video. I'll put a link in the description and maybe one of those card things in the corner of the video up here. So what we're looking at today is a CED player from RCA. This is a little bit later, a little bit higher end player. This is the SGT 250. And it's widely considered one of the best CED players as far as like features and reliability and things like that go, and ease of finding parts. And I think in my first video on CEDs and CED players, I mentioned this player. I think I told the story on that player, but I'm going to tell it again really quickly. I actually tried to acquire this very same player 2 years ago on a local, like a service called OfferUp. That's kind of like Craigslist. And I had the deal all set up to pick this thing up, and the lady messaged me at the day I was supposed to pick it up, and she said, you know, this is my mom's, and her friend told her that these things are worth like $200, $300 on eBay, and I know it's not, but she's convinced it is, and she just wants to sell it on eBay. And guess what it did for the last 2 years? It sat probably on eBay, and no one bought it for that ridiculous price. Because of course her mother was looking at asking prices, because people think just because something's old and maybe kind of rare that it's worth a fortune, and it's maybe to the right person, but no. So of course it didn't sell. And about a week or two ago, she out of the blue messaged me, and I guess she still had my information, and she was like, hey, you know what, my mom's finally ready to just let this thing go, and I'll sell it to you for our agreed upon price, which is like $30. I was like, you know what, sure. At the very least it would make a decent video, I guess, and this is a nice upgrade from my CED player that I do own. It's a little bit better. Like I said, it's widely considered one of the better players. So that's the story. So unfortunately, though, it does have two problems. The first problem you might be able to see if you're astute is the power button is broken off, and I have it right here. So this is going to be sort of a repair video as well as just an overview of this specific machine. I don't have a lot to work with there, but I'm going to try to super glue this back on and use support. I don't know. I'm going to try to do whatever I need to. It really just needs to connect to a little thing here where I can push it in and, you know, power it. Not really complicated, but I just need to, you know, get it to bond well enough, or it's not going to just break off. Now the second problem is it's a pretty common problem, and one of the bands in here that runs the gears has melted, and that is very common with things like CED players and anything that uses belts. I guess belts is a better word. They're kind of like rubber bands. Over time, especially if you live someplace where I do, where it's very hot all year round, these things will melt over time into just goo, and yeah, then your gears aren't turning. Now, fortunately, I do know this player works, because I opened it up and I manually put the disc in, and I moved the gears and things manually, and it displayed and sounded and it looked fine. So I do know this player does 100% work. The problem is that band which melted, or the belt that melted. We're going to try to replace that in this video. Now, I went to the site CED Magic. It seems to be the premier website on all things CED, and I found an equivalent for that belt here, OA 3.2 round belt. Now, this is for the function motor in this machine. Now, unfortunately, though, there aren't, as far as I could find, exact equivalents of that original belt. This belt, I think, is slightly off. but we're going to see if we can make it work. Hopefully we can, and that will be the video. Now I'm going to show you right now what it does now when you plug it in. Alright, let's try this. There we go. And you see the L for loading, and it makes that horrible, horrible noise. And you can put a CED player or a CED disc here, and it just will not load. That motor isn't working unless you open it and manually turn the gears. Let me just turn this off. And you'll notice one thing about this player. If you're familiar with CED players, a lot of them have a lever here, and it's a manual loading mechanism, and you just put the disc in and you click down and then you click up, and it's just a manual lever. This is one of the later players where it's automatic, but of course when you have an automatic loader, I believe it's called, where you don't have that big switch on the side, it looks nicer. It looks more modern, looks more sleek, but that's just one more thing to fail like it has here. So that motor has a belt, so we don't have a big old honking switch on the side here, but we do have more things to go wrong, which have gone wrong. So we're going to open this thing up and hopefully see if we can fix it. Alright, so let's take a closer look at this machine, the RCA SGT 250. So down here it kind of has an angle. It might be hard to see because it's dark. I have it set up now under this little PVM here. There is a sensor here. It looks like a sensor for a remote of some type. Yeah, I mean, it's not too different from other machines at the time. Pretty standard. Stereo light, side 1, side 2 light. Here's your little LCD. Rapid access, visual search, pause. Here we have load, unload, and here's the power button. So, you know, surprise, I did fix it with some super glue. RCA selective vision, stereo, video disc player. Now again, there isn't a handle here like earlier players where you would, you know, put it in the load position, then you'd load it, and then you'd have to click it down to play or unload. It's automatic. You hit the load button, and then you put it in, and then when you're done, you hit the unload button. So a little more modern, you know, you don't have that switch, but then again, on the downside, it is one more thing to fail and break, because now you have a function motor, and as we've seen, those use belts which can melt and disintegrate. So more modern. I wouldn't know. I don't know if it's easier. I mean, it was just a switch, but it is like more sleek and modern. But another thing to break down on it. But it's still cool. I like this more than the older. It just looks. I mean, I don't really like that 70s aesthetic too much. I'm much more into the 80s aesthetic, and this feels much more 80s to me. I also think this is one of the first, if not the first, RCA player to actually use the, I forget what they call it, like soft load or switch load or something, rather than the lever. Right here we see the tag, SGT 250. Don't see a date, but I believe this was 1983. This model came out. Now connectors on the back, RF in and out. We have a channel switch 4 and 3, and lacking on the other model I have, the older one, this one actually has composite video out and stereo left and right, along with this switch, so you can disable different channels. So if they have a disc where, you know, voice as one and music out of one, you don't want to hear the voice and just the music, you can do that depending if the movie has that option. This model also has a little cover that comes off and gives you access to, there's where you can change your needle. Okay, so to open this guy up, there's 3 screws here on the back. Standard Phillips head screwdriver will work for those. But on the bottom side, you also have to unscrew all these things, and I don't know what they're called, but they're not really standard. You need a screwdriver, I guess this would still be like this. And unfortunately, this is kind of an unmarked one. It's just have it from this generic electronics kit I found at a thrift store a couple years ago. So I don't know, there's a couple different sizes and stuff, so I don't know what the size is, but just you know, just know it has to be kind of this weird open kind one that fits over, and then you turn it and unscrew it. Okay, so here is our player with the top off. Here is our broken power. Well, I mean, it still works, but that switch just needs secured on there if we can. And right here is the gears. This was the function motor, and that is where it seems the belt has melted. You can still see a lot of the belt on there, and I believe it would wrap around here and then onto here, and it moves this guy here, which loads the discs. And if you can manually move them, and you can see that that moves. And I was able to manually load a disc doing this, just turning these by hand, and it loaded the disc, the CED, and it played just fine. So I know it's this thing, it's the player, it's fine if I can get it to load something. Now I guess I could just leave the top off and I could just do this manually all the time, but that's horrible. So I'm gonna try to put that belt on, and hopefully, I know the size is a bit off, but it's pretty close, so we'll see. Okay, so I got the gears off. It just takes a little force to kind of pop this gear off, and then the white one just comes right off, and you can see the belt is all, and it's already all over my fingers. So I just have to clean these, put the new belt on, put everything back, pray it works. And I just noticed there's like a dollar sign there. Maybe it's just an S with a line. It looks like a dollar sign. Maybe the mom put that there. It's like, yeah, this is worth a lot of money. Anyways, that goo is horrible. I tried to use rubbing alcohol to dissolve it. I couldn't get all of it, but I got most of it off. It's just gross. Anyways, I got the belt on, and it seems to fit, you know, okay. Maybe a little taut, but I guess we're gonna find out. So if we go up here, it might be hard to see, but there's another belt there. It looks like it's the motor belt. Maybe it connects to the motor. Looks like a little bit more durable belt. I mean, right now it's working. It's doing its job, but what is that, like a almost 40-year-old belt now? This is 1984-ish. It's 2019. 30 plus years. Yeah, that belt, I don't have a replacement belt. It's working right now, so I'm just gonna let it go. But if you're doing like a restoration on one of these, you might just want to replace all the belts while you have it open. But you know, I'm just lazy, and probably hardly gonna use this thing ever anyways. So yeah. Okay, we're plugged in. Now I'm gonna hit power. Let's see if it still makes that same noise. What it does. Oh, that's nice. You know, it went back into a loading position. Cool. So it looks like the belt's working. Closest CED I had was the wonderful Jane Fonda's workout. So let's see what happens when we try to insert it. I've never used these kind of loading with the automatic loading mechanism. I've always used the CED player, like older style, that had a handle. So I'm not sure exactly. I did this once before earlier, but let's see here. Okay, it's letting me load. Okay. And then the motor cool. It's spinning. It looks like it works. That belt seems to work. Nice. I think it's fixed. So let me just get that power button on, and I'll show it in action. Nice. Alright, and there we go. Hooked up to the plasma. Hope I don't get a copyright strike for Jane Fonda's workout, but it definitely is working. And the thing with this one too, as it is a dual soundtrack video disc. So what that means is you can use that switch on the back to I can turn off the music or not. So let's give that a shot, because you know she's talking, and you know let's see. Okay, so let's try that switch. See, we can turn off her talking, so we just have the music. So this is, you know, if you've seen this before, and you know, I'm and you know you don't want to hear babble and you just want to listen to the music. You can turn that back on. So neat. So it's working. So what do I think of this model? Yeah, it's a nice model. I mean, this other than the belt melting, which you're going to get on any model, it worked just fine. So what I've read, this is one of the more desirable models. It's, you know, as I said earlier, it's built really well, and I can attribute to that. It does seem pretty solid. It looks nice, in my opinion. It looks nicer than the earlier sort of 70s looking models. Some of those with that wood grain. Ugh, LGR, why did you wood grain? But yeah, it's I like it. Again, CED players as a whole, I don't know, I just have it to have it because it fits with all my other weird retro stuff, and I like retro, you know, media players. But do you need one? I'm struggling to find any reason to have a CED player anymore. I don't think there's any exclusives. I know there was at one time. There were things on CED that just never came out on VHS. But I mean, between Blu-ray, VHS, Laserdisc, Beta, those are all more or less superior formats, and everything's just available on them, easier and more convenient. Now this is a higher end CED player, and as I said in my CED player video, CEDs are technically, they're just supposed to look better than a VHS. They give a better image than a VHS, but I still feel that's only under like the perfect conditions. You have a better player like this one, and it is noticeably better video output than my other older player that uses RF. But I mean, you know, you have to have a new needle in there. You have to have a CED movie itself that's in good condition. It's not worn out. It just seems like it takes a lot more effort to get the best conditions to get that image that's maybe slightly better than a VHS. So it's just, I don't know. I just, if anyone has a reason to use a CED player, let me know. They're neat. It's a nice talking centerpiece. People are always surprised about movies on vinyl discs, but I don't know. There's no exclusives anymore, as far as I know. And just to make it clear before I finish up this video, I'm a guy that uses all kind of outdated formats. I mean, look, we got a VHS player, a Betamax, Laserdisc player. You know, a lot of movies now, you can get them on Blu-ray. I can make a case on why I prefer at least older movies on something like, for me, like Laserdisc strikes the best balance of picture quality and that nostalgic SD look. I think sometimes less is more. Like I love Japanese monster movies, and like I just recently watched a lot of the Gamera movies on Blu-ray, and it's just like, some of it's nice, but it's just, you can see too much sometimes. Like I saw a lot of strings that maybe on the Laserdisc or the VHS I didn't see. I don't know, sometimes that muddier, low resolution look works better for older films. I don't know. But I mean, I'm not one to talk if you like, for whatever reason, watching movies on a CED. But I'm just saying, there's still exclusives on Laserdiscs and VHS, and I don't think that's the same for CED. Plus, you know, the quality of CED is not good. Maybe if you've got a great setup, marginally better than VHS, like I said. And there's just a lot less movies that came out on CED. I mean, they stopped doing CEDs in like 84, 85. They didn't stop with Laserdiscs until like 2000, 2001, and VHS even later. So I'm just saying, if you love CED, that's great. I'm just saying, it's hard to find a reason to put one in your setup, even if you're into outdated, obsolete media formats. Alright, so see you in the next video. So yeah, thanks for watching this video. If you like this kind of content, let me know. Subscribe, hit that bell button or whatever, and I'll see you in the next video.